Welcome to this week's edition of Pitstop with me, Jaco van der Merwe. I'm joined by Mark Jones and Charl. Now, Mark, fresh from China. Let's just say it was interesting, obviously, for you, and you went over with Chery. Chery's got various sub-brands nowadays, but we're not going to go into them today. That's a whole episode on its own. Yeah, you haven't been to China for a while. How was China?
Pretty much the same, I think. Fresh is probably not a word I'd use. The recovery takes a while. Interesting, that's one sort of way of putting a lot of other words I could use. But yes, China has evolved. I mean, the cities are really cleaned out. It's become more modern, if you can say that. And, of course, Chery with their product offensive is huge. I mean, it's like nothing we see in South Africa. I mean, you can't even get your head around the numbers.
You went to the Beijing Auto Show.
Yeah, Auto China 2024. Yeah, as it's officially known.
And you say, just as an example of the magnitude of that, the main Chery, the Tiggo 9, which we're going to get to just now, you said they invited 2,000 people just to that little stand there.
Yeah, that was kind of like a Chery thing. Hey, let's have 2,000 guests, our own guests, to go with the 20 million guests that were trying to climb over you and through you. I mean, I've never seen a media day that big in my life before. I mean, if we could have people through any sort of South African show, in total, never mind media, it just gave you an idea of how serious Chery is in their local market, how serious they are in their global markets, because people came from everywhere. I mean, Oz, Russia, ourselves from the tip of Africa. So it shows commitment, and it's something they're proud of.
Okay, now before we get into the new products, just to alleviate any confusion here, Charl, I'm going to ask you quickly.
Yeah.
So before we get to this Tiggo 9, Chery, just give us a quick breakdown since they've re-entered the market a few years ago. What did they start with, and what's just the model count at?
So we've got Tiggo 4 Pro, we had Tiggo 7 Pro, and Tiggo 8 Pro. Then it became available later was the Tiggo 8 Pro Max, which was the upgraded version with the 2-litre turbo engine. Recently, that range has now been expanded with a four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive model. And then reversing a little bit back, we had the Tiggo 7 Pro Max, which we saw in China. And that car has now also been available with an all-wheel drive system. And literally 24 hours ago, there was an upgraded version of the Tiggo 4 Pro. Last year at the Kailami Festival of Motoring, they had the Lit, which is an entry-level model.
Also a 4.
Also the 4. And now they've introduced a new double-clutch gearbox to two derivatives of the Tiggo 4 Pro. So, yeah, that's the latest edition.
That's up until now what's been on the table.
That's
the
up
4,
until now.
The 7, and the 8.
Yes.
Now, Mark, so you saw the 9. What's funny for me is that there's no Pro at the end. Does that mean it's an amateur?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think the plan with Chery, or the Chinese more so, they're going to bring models and numbers, and wherever you can count, these things are going to go there. So, yeah, I mean, the big thing there was eco-friendliness going forward. So PHEV was the big thing, plug-in hybrid.
Which is the 9.
Which is the 9.
It's only a plug-in hybrid.
Well, I don't have to tell you, Charl, who has been there, information is hard to come by. Besides the lost in translation.
You don't say.
Yeah. The lost in translation part is pretty much given. But, we saw that, and it's the PHEV with the 1500 engine with a hybrid.
Battery system and so on, yeah.
But then we were told about a 2-litre turbo, kind of saw that. And then I saw in international reporting, they're all talking about this 2-litre turbo, and I thought, wow, who's got it wrong? But there supposedly is a 2-litre turbo that's going to be in like a lower spec model, and then there's going to be the 1500 with a hybrid in the slightly higher spec model. So, yeah, look out for Tiggo 9, Pro Max, PHEV, you name it.
But for the moment, that plug-in hybrid, which they did push over there, the global reveal of it, and while you were there, they did do that little economy run test,
yes,
which it got 1,214 kilometers on. But obviously, as it's coming to South Africa, as we get more, we'll tell you more. And that's official now. It's been on the table. So The 4, the 7, the 8 will be supplemented by the 9. But there were other interesting little things
Yeah.
that you saw, other numbers that falls in between
Yeah.
these.
Like I said, I mean, if there's numbers, they're going to use them. So what was shown on the big global board, which we've never kind of seen, and I think it's only in India, is a little Tigo 2, which is like a Kia Sonnet kind of looking
Yeah.
car. It's tiny.
Some in South America as well. Big in South America.
Yeah. Little 1500 naturally aspirated engine, CVT gearbox, last time I looked. And so I asked a simple question, you get a simple answer, but that doesn't always work out. I said, like, is this coming? And I was told, everything you see is coming. I was like, okay. So there's a 2 available there that I believe will come, but it has to be configured. It'll be the new generation because it has to be right-hand drive. It's not, it's left-hand drive at the moment. Then I saw a Tigo 6, which is their all-new full electric Tigo, which I believe is also coming.
But that 6 quite interesting. That styling is quite out there.
Yes.
It's not the traditional Chery styling as
No.
such.
So they're evolving with all these electric cars have this slightly out there look, but they say that's coming. Spec, not heard of. I couldn't get anything. And then kind of once I thought we were done with all of that, talking of the Tigo 4, we happened to be at the business conference a couple of days later, and then the parking lot was a Tigo 4, but it looked like a Tigo 7. And I was like, how? And the dealers were all running around it very excitedly and whatever. But I believe that's going to be our soon-to-arrive Tigo 4 Pro Max. So, yes.
Absolutely no confusion there.
No, not at all.
No. Confucius was never a Chinese guy, I guess. He certainly lived there long enough. But, yeah, it just means there's a lot of product coming. And there's going to be a lot of choice. And they're going to really fill every segment they can in terms of SUV.
Charles, just last month, the April sales figures, very interesting. Chery, if I'm not mistaken, used to lurk outside just around the top 10.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they shot up to number 6. Obviously, their sales of just over 2,000 would include Omoda and Jaco. But if you take that out of the equation, between the 4, the 7 and the 8, they still sold 1,600, which is pretty spectacular. And with Jaco and Omoda, the models coming, I guess there's no going down for Chery from here.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that Tigo 4 we were just talking about, that's their obvious bestseller. They did just over, I think it was 975
Close to
units.
1,000.
Close to 1,000 a month, yeah. And with that figure, if you exclude Omoda and Jaco, this is the first time Omoda and Jaco have been included in their in the structure, in the configuration structure. They sold more than Haval, and that's always been their main goal, is to outsell Haval and GWM, which has been in the country for a while. But the products are coming, and on the Jaco side and the Omoda side, it's also coming big time.
Speaking of Jaco and Omoda, we're running out of time to get to all of those which Mark saw over there in China. But that's all a show on its own. So tune in next week and you can listen to us. If you like this podcast, you can go and click like. You can also share it. And if you want to fully commit to listening to this every week, you can go and follow our YouTube channel, The Citizen. That's all it is from us this weekend. I'm Jaco van der Merwe. I was joined by Mark Jones and Charl Bosch. Thanks for listening.